Good afternoon, everybody. The Senate Committee on Natural Resources will now come to order. Will the Secretary please call roll?
Senator Cruz Crawford,
Here.
Senator Scheibel,
Here.
Senator Pizzina,
Present.
Senator Hansen,
Here.
Senator Elson.
All 5 committee members are here, and we have a quorum. Welcome to our audience in Carson City and those joining us via video conference in Las Vegas, and anyone tuning in over the internet. And it looks like no one in Las Vegas today. Before I start, I'd like to make a few housekeeping announcements. When testifying, please turn your mic to on. When you are not speaking, please turn it off. We have listeners and viewers online. We're recording this meeting and it'll be available on the legislature's website following this meeting. If you have handouts for the committee, please submit them to staff or electronically in PDF file to our committee manager no later than 3:30 p.m. on the business day following the meeting. Committee information is available on NELIS, which can also be accessed through the legislature's website. You may also watch our meetings through NELIS or the legislative YouTube channel. We ask that public comment be kept to 2 minutes, and we have a timer up here that we use to keep us honest. And public comments, written public comments may be submitted before, during, or up to 24 hours after the meeting adjournment. Members of the public may provide testimony on a bill either in person or by telephone. And finally, please mute your electronic cell phones during this meeting. So today we have a 15-minute overview presentation by the Desert Research Institute, DRI. And we have Dr. Kumud Achara. Is that how I say it? Chara, okay. And then President, which is my favorite, NC President. And please begin, come up to the front and begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Kumud Acharya, President of DRI. This is it's my honor to be here to give an overview of DRI. As you know, that DRI our scientists have been conducting research to address some of our pressing environmental issues for over 60 years here in Nevada and around the world. We are one of 8 institutions within NC, Nevada System of Higher Education, only institute that is non-degree granting. And our scientists only conduct research. We have 2 campuses, 2 main campuses, one in Reno and Las Vegas. We've been around 60 plus years. We have more than 600 scientists, engineers, students, and support staff, 140 PhDs in more than 40 disciplines in research. Our annual external grants and contracts revenue is about $52 million. This is not counting the state support. We conduct research. Our research, basically, we look at the human's impact on the environment and environment's impact on the humans. This includes research on air, water, earth, and fire, and also its impact on people. So I'm going to share with you a few of our exciting and also very important research that's happening at DRI. As you know, the first one is Southern Nevada Heat Resilience Lab. This was a lab that we established a few years ago in Las Vegas. As you know that last year, Las Vegas saw a record temperature, and then the Clark County Coroner's Office reports that more than 500 deaths were because of the extreme heats in Las Vegas area. So what the Resilience Lab is designed to do is to bring together all the agencies that play a role in dealing with extreme heat. Right now, there is no such coordinating agency, and there are various agencies that are involved in dealing with this issue. And so we hope that we will be able to coordinate all of these agencies and provide a quick relief to people who are impacted by the extreme heat. Drought. DRI is pretty well known around the country in its research in hydrology. So we have all kinds of drought-related research that's happening, whether it's lake evaporation or the impact of drought on water quality in lake Lake Mead or Colorado River, or all kinds of drought-related issues. Another one is Nevada Water Initiative. This is a relatively new project. This project, DRI is working with USGS and the State of Nevada State Engineer's Office in basically mapping groundwater basins all over the state. What it is right now the state is using data that is more than 70 years old, 60, 70 years old, and we don't really know the accurate amount of recharge, discharge on these groundwater basins. And so it's not a, based on that old data, and the technology has advanced so much that I think we're able to more accurately estimate how much water we have, how much water we're using every year. And so hopefully when all said and done, when we finish this project, this is a long-term project obviously, we'll have a much better understanding of how much water we have in our groundwater basins, and then we can use appropriately. I also wanted to share another project. It's called ArcStorm 2. What it is a 2010 USGS came up with a new project called ArcStorm. What it is, this ArcStorm is what if our region is hit by a series of atmospheric rivers, how are the cities prepared to deal with it? So just to remind you, in 1862, California, on the west of Sierra Nevada, we had a massive atmospheric rivers event that flooded central California and caused a very big flooding and financial and human loss. That was once in a 500-year event. And it's been almost like 150 years. And what if a similar atmospheric river event were to hit Nevada or California, and our cities prepared to deal with it? So we're working with our emergency planners and managers to create that scenario and come up with a plan to be ready if or when that event or storm will ever hit. The next one that I wanted to talk about was probable maximum precipitation. In 2023 legislative session, the legislature funded SB 273, which provided funding to the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources to conduct a probable maximum precipitation study. Probable maximum precipitation is a widely used flood risk management tool in the design and assessment of critical infrastructure such as dams. So DRI is updating the estimate of probable maximum precipitation, which hasn't been done since 1977. Another one is assisting with county water plans. DRI is also working with the Nevada Division of Water Resources on efforts to assist rural counties with developing water resources plans. We've been tasked with aiding rural Nevada counties who would like to would like our assistance in developing those plans. We'll also be developing a framework for counties to use for future water resources planning updates. This does not include Clark, Wausau, and Carson. These are outside of other counties. One of the long established program at DRI is called Western Regional Climate Center. There are 6 climate centers in the country, and the Western Regional Climate Center is housed at DRI. What it does is collects data for 11 Western United States, weather, meteorological data, and the analysis, and also the data is provided to whoever is, like whether it's the federal, state, or local officials or legislators, policymakers, and public. And so we're basically collecting data and letting public know that what's happening in our region. So one example of that is all those 6 regional climate centers come together and produce a drought map. It's called Drought Monitor. It's produced every week for the whole country. What it tells is this provides like which area of the country is really drought-stricken, and then what the local managers can or need to do about it. So DRI is a co-author of this drought monitor, and this comes out of our Western Regional Climate Center. And another project that I wanted to touch on is OpenET. OpenET is a new tool developed by DRI, USGS, NASA, Google, and a bunch of other agencies. Basically, this is a web-based app that allows our water users or water managers to understand how much water is being lost from our ground through evapotranspiration. So this is using a satellite data. And so this basically allows them to see if, it's a water conservation tool essentially. And this is right now available for Western 17 western states in the country. Another rapidly growing program at DRI is microplastics. You may have heard about microplastics. Microplastics are now found everywhere, including Lake Tahoe to snowpacks to anywhere. And so DRI has we are ahead of the group in, with the state-of-the-art microplastics labs. We're basically getting samples from everywhere and then trying to understand the source of those microplastics. One of the earlier studies found that a lot of those microplastics come from dryer vents in people's homes, from their clothes and everything else. And so, as you have probably heard, that now microplastics are everywhere, including the Alps. I wanted to touch on another study that DRI has. This is a relatively new study. This is about a miner's health. There are new regulations on the dust exposure to miners, and then the mining companies, trainers, all of them, they are required to undergo training. So DRI is conducting mine safety trainings across the state. We did quite a bit of that in 2024 and also in 2025. These trainings have three audiences: the managers of the mine companies, who are now required to do these trainings but aren't up to date on the new requirement, the trainers who will provide future trainings to the miners, and the miners themselves. So in 2024, we reached 71 mine managers, almost 300 trainers, and 124 miners. So the sessions basically focused on silica dust to provide updates based on new law that reduces the exposure limit. One other project is called Integrated Terrain and Analysis Program. DRI is working very closely with DoD, especially Army, and trying to understand the impact of terrain and dust on military vehicles and our artilleries, because we have forces all over the world, and then how would the local terrain impact our forces' movement and everything else. This is a very long-running program at DRI. Right now, the field sites are in Yuma, Arizona, and also in Alaska and several places in the world. One other project I wanted to briefly touch on is called the National Science Foundation Regional Innovation Engines Award. This is an award given to Arizona State University, DRI, UNLV, and University of Utah to make this region, Salt Lake City, Phoenix, and Las Vegas, to make the three cities hub for innovations in water security, renewable energy, and carbon capture. This is a very large program. It's a 10-year program. If we met metrics every year, we will be getting about $160 million over 10 years to develop technologies around those three topics. And as you know, DRI is also deeply involved in STEM education. Just 2024 alone, we were able to reach almost 33,000 students all over the state, engaging them in STEM trainings and STEM programs, and all related to science education. We trained almost 600 plus educators all over the state, and also we had 150 interns at DRI. Similarly, DRI's Nevada robotics program is growing rapidly. Last year, we were able to reach almost 31,000 students across the state. We have people also in rural areas, Elko, also in Pahrump, also in Las Vegas and in Reno, providing free robots to teachers and also books and all of that. These are all funded by grants and contracts. And then DRI supports students from our institutions. We have graduate students, undergraduate students, all intern working at DRI alongside our scientists. We have about 50 graduate students that are all supported by DRI right now. Our economic impact and return on state investment, we're thankful for the state support. We get about 15% of our funding from the state, but every dollar that DRI gets, we bring additional nearly $5 to the state through grants and contracts. And our direct, indirect, and induced return on investment is nearly $8.36. That includes my brief overview, Chair. If there's any question, I'm more than happy to take. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Mucharia. Let's see if we have any questions. Senator Pazina, and then we'll go on to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I always enjoy these presentations. I think when last we spoke, you may have mentioned that one of our senators and one of our representatives was looking into some federal legislation on open ET. Do you know if that's moved at all?
So, thank you, Madam Chair, through you to Senator Pazina. For the record, Kumud Acharya, President of DRI, Senator Cortez Masto introduced a bill in Senate, and then Congresswoman Susie Lee introduced a bill in the House. And so we've had number of discussions of those bills, but we don't have a final resolution yet of those two bills. Yeah. Thank you.
And Senator Hansen?
Actually, more of a thank you. Our chair, who was formerly on the Board of Regents, set up a very interesting tour of the facilities in Reno, and I just want to say I enjoyed it very much, learned a lot, and it's very pertinent for today's bill. So just want to thank you for that and thank the chair for that.
Thank you.
Making those arrangements.
Thank you, Senator Hansen. Okay, seeing no others, I did want to say thank you, President Acharya. I joke that you're my favorite president, but the work that DRI does for our community is really necessary to just thinking about being in the military and all the supports that you do for the military. We just recently had a big fire, right? Don't you do monitoring on how fires spread based on wind speed and direction, and really helps save our state money too, because like you had on the slide, you're the lowest funded institution, right? Because a lot of your funding comes from grants, and I really appreciate all the water work that you're doing to really identify how much water we do have in our state. And so I did, on one slide, I had a question. It was the NSF Regional Innovation. You said if you keep up with your metrics, you perceive $160 million. What is that metric? How do we make sure that that happens?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kumud Acharya for the record. So first year, we were awarded $16 million. And those $16 million that are, so this is a very unique National Science Foundation grant. This is not about research. This is about working with startups, working with other private investors to bring technologies from around the country to this region to develop. And so there are metrics. The metrics are how many new technologies in carbon capture or water security or renewable energy we were able to attract. How many, and so right now we had an RFP recently put out, and then we received more than 100 companies with technologies wanting to work with us. So how many companies are in the path to basically commercializing their technologies through our support and work? So those are the kind of metrics that NSF is looking at. So it's not about research, it's about economic development of the region, about technology development.
Thank you so much. I'd love to learn more about that when we have some time. Is there any other questions from our committee members? Yes, Senator Elson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Sorry you had to leave for a second, I couldn't hear you. Question I've got is the $600,000 proposed for the 26-27, because I don't know if you're going to do the 25-26. Is that already set in stone? What is that for cloud seeding?
Thank you so much for that question, Kumud Acharya for the record. So the last legislative session, we received $1.2 million for the biennium for cloud seeding programs. So what it does is we have, cloud seeding, our leader of the program is right here. He can answer better, but we have 24 or so cloud seeding generators already placed in different locations. So that money will allow us to operate some of those generators depending on the need for the region. Because it won't be building new generators, because those are already in place, and the state has already invested heavily on those generators. The $600 per year is just to operate some of those generators in areas where they're most needed.
Follow up, ma'am?
Yeah, probably ought to wait till the hearing.
Senator Elson, do you mind if we wait until the hearing for cloud seeding and then, unless,
We could.
okay, just because I wanted to, no disrespect. Okay, thank you. Okay, We're going to end this presentation, and we appreciate your time. Are you also presenting Senate Bill?
No,
Okay.
we have other.
Perfect.
Tracy.
We are now ready to start our bill hearing. I will now open the hearing on Senate Bill 6. This measure, you can come up, and I apologize, I have very bad allergies and they're acting up right now. This measure makes an appropriation to the Desert Research Institute of the Nevada System of Higher Education to support the Nevada State Cloud Seeding Program. And if you could just take a moment, Senator Scheibel, and wave to the audience because she is wearing a cloud dress. If anyone she tried to one-up me today because I dressed up for the Future Farm Workers of America, but she won. But all seriousness, this bill, Senate Bill 6, makes an appropriation to the Desert Research Institute of Nevada System of Higher Education to support the Nevada State Cloud Seeding Program. This is a policy committee, so I wanted to remind you, but there is an appropriation on here. We leave that appropriation conversation really to the Finance Committee. Of course, though, since the bill does ask for appropriation, obviously you can state that, but we don't want to speak a long time on that since we have another committee that oversees that. We have a few presenters today. We have Tracy Bauer, Dr. Frank McDonough, sorry. McDonough, is that correct? McDonough. And I have Jeff Fontaine's here. Oh, perfect. And we have Senator Scheibel. And we've allotted 15 minutes for your presentation, and you may begin when you're ready.
All right, thank you so much, Chair Cruz Crawford and members of the Senate Committee on Natural Resources. As you know, my name is Melanie Scheibel. I am the State Senator for District 9 in Las Vegas. I'm happy to be before you today presenting SB 6. I was fortunate enough to serve on the Interim Standing Committee on Natural Resources and chair the Public Lands Subcommittee. And one of the first organizations that we heard from was the Desert Research Institute, and they have been longtime partners of the legislature and do incredible work throughout the state of Nevada. And just one of those programs is the subject of SB 6. That is their cloud seeding research program. My co-presenters from DRI will have a little bit more to say about this program, but to summarize, cloud seeding is a technique that basically improves a cloud's ability to produce rain or snow. So by doing the cloud seeding, we can enhance our snowfall, increase snowpack, and ultimately increase the amount of water in our rivers, streams, and lakes. And so I know that we've all heard it time and time again that Nevada is the driest state in the nation. Cloud seeding is not a panacea. We need storms in order to do cloud seeding, and we can't create the storms. But when we do have storms, we can help make the storm clouds more efficient at producing precipitation. It's a tool in the toolbox our state can utilize to help with the impacts of climate change and our water supply. Last session, we passed SB 99, which appropriated $1.2 million for the 2023 to 2025 biennium for this program. The cloud seeding program generated real, tangible results for the water supply in our state, and we're incredibly fortunate to have an institution like DRI that leads the charge in Nevada and frankly in many other states on this important work. Before I turn it over to my co-presenters to discuss the cloud seeding program, the excellent science behind it, and the results of the cloud seeding that we have already done in Nevada, I want to briefly review the sections of the bill with you, which will be pretty quick. The bill makes an appropriation of $1.2 million for the biennium, which is the same appropriation that we made in the last biennium. The bill also requires DRI to prepare and transmit a report to the Interim Finance Committee on or before September 1st of 2026 and September 1st of 2027, describing the expenditures made using the appropriation. With that, I will turn it over to Ms. Bauer and co-presenters to discuss the cloud seeding program in more depth and the results from the cloud seeding that we have already completed since funding it in the last biennium.
Thank you, Senator Scheibel, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tracy Bauer, Director of External Affairs at the Desert Research Institute. Cloud seeding is a scientifically proven method to increase precipitation by introducing ice-forming dust into winter storm clouds over mountains. It's widely practiced throughout the West, and DRI has been a leader in the science of cloud seeding for more than 60 years. Cloud seeding can increase winter snowfall, as Senator Scheibel said, by 10%, increasing the water supply in the state at a cost of just over $10 per acre-foot of water. The state funded DRI to conduct a cloud seeding experiment in the 1970s. The success of that experiment led to the state funding the Nevada State Cloud Seeding Program, which operated until 2009. Funding was halted at that time due to the Great Recession. When that funding halted, DRI worked with local water agencies to conduct cloud seeding where possible, but the patchwork nature of the funding makes it less efficient and more expensive than a statewide program. The projects are often not funded by local sponsors until drought conditions are critical for water supplies, missing out on opportunities to generate additional snowfall before the situation becomes dire. The legislature's approval of SB 99 in the 2023 session allowed DRI to operate the state-owned cloud seeding generators valued at $2 million that were built by DRI. The $600,000 in operational dollars has the potential to produce enough water for thousands of Nevada homes for their yearly water needs. I'd like to ask my colleague, Dr. Frank McDonough, to provide an overview of the water resources that the program provided for the state with the funding over the last 2 years.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for having us here. My name is Frank McDonough. I am an atmospheric scientist at the Desert Research Institute, and I lead the cloud seeding program. To reiterate what's been already said, cloud seeding is a method to enhance a cloud's ability to produce snowfall. The project is done from the ground during storms when widespread low clouds are present over the mountainous areas that we're working in. The seeding material is a naturally occurring dust made of silver iodide. The cloud seeding program covers 4 mountain ranges across the state. These mountainous areas provide critical snow and water resources for homes, agriculture, plants and wildlife, fisheries, and recreation. All of the 25 state-owned cloud seeding generators and associated weather stations and communication links were able to be repaired with the funding from the previous, the one we're working on now, the project. And so we're in good shape to continue the project at the same level of funding, even though the expenses have gone up on the materials and the labor. During the winter 2023-24, we estimate 56,000 acre-feet of additional snow water equivalent, which is liquid water, was added to the 4 basins in the state of Nevada. This project was conducted in the Humboldt River Basin, the Ruby Mountains and the Santa Rosa Mountains, the Truckee River Basin, and also in the Spring Mountains of southern Nevada. The cost for this additional water, $10.66 per acre foot. And as previously mentioned, an acre foot is enough water for 2.5 Nevada homes' use for 1 year. The target and control validation clearly showed that precipitation and runoff were above the expected unseeded values, confirming the success of the project. The DRI and State of Nevada technology that's developed through this state cloud seeding program is also being applied by states across the West, including in the Colorado River headwaters, and this is increasing Colorado River stream flow and directly benefiting southern Nevada's urban areas. We've also been able to identify additional Nevada basins for potential future cloud seeding programs as funding and equipment becomes available to do that. The winter operations for this winter, 2024-25, are currently underway, and things are going pretty well so far. So that's all I have.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Jeff Fontaine, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Central Nevada Regional Water Authority and also the Humboldt River Basin Water Authority, which are units of local governments. They're established by their member counties to protect their water resources for their economic future, the quality of life and environment And thank you for the opportunity to assist in presenting SB 6. I also want to thank and acknowledge Senator Pezzina and Senator Scheibel for their work on the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Natural Resources and the Public Lands Subcommittee, and for recommending the cloud seeding program for funding for the 2025-2027 biennium. So the Humboldt, as I'm sure you know, is the longest river in Nevada and the longest river in the continental United States that begins and ends within the boundaries of one state. The Humboldt River Adjudication from 1923 to 1938, also known as the Humboldt River Decree, which allocated water from the Humboldt River and its tributaries, was based on irrigated acreage during a time of plenty of water. Since the Humboldt River's water comes almost exclusively from snow melt in the mountains, its flow is highly variable from season to season, and it's based on the amount of snowfall. In the past 20 years, however, there's been a significant decrease in flow, especially in the lower portion of the river. It's often running dry in certain stretches, and that means the amount of water reaching the senior water right holders downstream can fluctuate significantly. Since 2002, the Pershing County Water Conservation District, the entity that serves about 100 farmers in the Lovelock area, has received 50% or less of their full allotment for 12 years, and that includes 3 years where they received no water. So this highly annual variation in water flow creates economic and environmental uncertainty and significant hardships for the farmers who rely on the Humboldt River for their livelihoods and also for their communities. A number of factors that contributed to water shortages in the Humboldt, most notably groundwater pumping near the river, and climate change conditions such as warming trends, reduced snowpack, early runoff, and drought. Cloud seeding is an effective way to augment the Humboldt water supply. DRI has estimated that last year their operations produced an additional 18,000 acre-feet of snow water equivalent in the Humboldt Basin. HRBWA has a history of collaborating with the DRI on cloud seeding. We helped DRI secure private land to locate their generators, which reduced their costs. And in 2021 and 2022, HRBWA led an effort to raise funds to match the donation of cloud seeding funds from the William N. Pennington Foundation to support DRI's cloud seeding operations. Those funds were also used to conduct an analysis of the impacts of cloud seeding on the water supply in the Humboldt River, as well as to study the feasibility of expanding the operations. In the central region, DRI's cloud seeding is in the Spring Mountains, and that contributes much needed groundwater recharge to the Pahrump Valley, which is a highly overappropriated groundwater basin and has declining groundwater levels. And last point I want to make is it's important to perform cloud seeding not just during dry years. Cloud seeding is really very advantageous during periods of very high precipitation because it gives us resiliency to drought, it keeps our reservoirs full, it keeps soil moisture high and groundwater basins recharged. Thank you again, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. I am going to see if the committee members have any questions. Oh, go ahead. Senator Ellison, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And sorry to jump the boat. I thought you guys switched over already. But anyway, Mr. Fontaine, we've worked together for many years on a lot of projects, and one of the things I was going to ask you with the cloud seeding that's up in the Rubies that goes through, how much of that actually goes into the aquifer? That's my first question.
Thank you for the question. Directly to the Senator?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that's a little hard to measure, and maybe the DRI folks have a better answer, but I can't tell you exactly how much water goes into the river, but I can tell you this, that if it doesn't flow directly into the river, it's going into two things, which are really probably as important, and that is increasing the soil moisture, which in the previous 3 years has been at an all-time low, and then it recharges groundwater. So, and there's clearly a portion of that evaporates off, perhaps. There's been talk about sublimation and losing a portion of it to that, but all in all, I think the water does contribute to the overall health and flow of water in the Humboldt region.
The reason I asked that, I knew there was a percentage years ago that'll give you some kind of idea what the aquifer that goes back into the groundwater, which goes into a lot of lower and higher areas. The one thing that also, the thing I've got to ask is, the last 2 years, being that the snowpack was what it is, never seen it that some of these hayfields wouldn't dry. There was so much water sitting in the hayfield, they couldn't produce the amount of hay they needed. So maybe can you hit on that and why? Because that was in the rubies, down below the rubies. Thank you.
I'm Frank McDonough, Desert Research Institute, Madam Chair, through you to Senator Ellison. I guess the question I would have is that due to direct precipitation on the field, or is that due to some type of stream flow? Because the cloud seeding program specifically designed to target the mountainous area, so we're not trying to land precipitation on fields proper. So that could just be a legacy of the winter itself, or, you know, if it's something with stream flow, then we could discuss, you know, that. But if it's just water on a ranch land, it shouldn't have come from the cloud seeding program. We have the generators are parked right up against the base of the mountains, and they're have a set of rules to operate them, which is only conducive to when snow falls, when the generators are gonna enhance snowpack over the higher terrain. So that's the project design. And then to answer your other question, we have a analysis that we do every year where we compare the North Fork stream flow data, which is coming out of the area up by the Idaho border and the Jarbidge mountain areas where that feeds the North Fork. And then we have runoff from the South Fork, which is coming directly out of the Rubies. And we have multiple, actually decades of this data, and we can look at the relationship between the North Fork runoff and the South Fork runoff during the unseeded years. And we can look at that same relationship during the seeded years, and we can see about 10% more water, or some years it's even more, in the South Fork than what we see in the North Fork, which gives us a lot of, and we have enough years of this where we have high confidence that we're seeing the water in the South Fork of the Humboldt River from the cloud seeding program. But as Mr. Fontaine mentioned, it is highly variable. If the soil's dry in the fall, then a lot of that runoff or a lot of that meltwater is going to go to the trees. But that's probably still a good thing. And then one other thing I'd like to mention is that it seems like we may be able to slow the snowpack melt off a little bit with the cloud seeding, especially if we can do it in the spring. What we're seeing now is we're down to bare earth about 3 to 4 weeks earlier than we historically have been, if you look back 50, 60 years. And so now we have these ground surfaces drying out like a month earlier than they historically would have, and we're starting to see forest fires up at elevations that, you know, our parents would never even have ever seen. And that's another thing, we can potentially whiten the snowpack later in the season, which may slow the runoff a little bit. So we're still studying that, but that may be a new benefit that we're just stumbling upon from this project.
Thank you. Senator Hansen?
Thanks, Madam Chair. We've all received a bunch of chain letter emails saying how horrible the products used. Silver iodine, when you and I met at the university, the bottle was about that big that you guys use. There is concern that it reaches a certain quantity in an area. It could actually be a dangerous poison. Could you address that, right? And they were talking 6 tons of it, but I would imagine it takes a lot of little bottles to get to 6 tons, and that wouldn't, even then, it's not concentrated in any specific spot, is it? After it's used?
So, Madam Chair, through you to Senator Hansen, yeah, it's been studied, like the silver iodide, actually somehow the people who first stumbled upon cloud seeding stumbled upon silver iodide as one of the best materials to use, 1948. And so the very earliest cloud seeding programs were using silver iodide. And there's projects in California, that hydroelectric projects, one on the McCollum River. It's been done for 60 years, every year. And they've gone up and looked at the soil samples, lake sediment, lake water, river water in the McCollum Basin. And then they've gone down to Yosemite, which is about, 80 miles south of there. Same terrain, same geology, same aspects of the mountains, and look for the exact same measurements, and there's no difference. So the amount that's being put down is so low that even after 60 years, there's no detection of the materials. And the materials also been studied extensively by biologists and by plant folks, and it's a insoluble solid particle. So it goes up as a solid, it serves as a lattice structure for new ice to form. As soon as you form that new ice, that ice finds itself in a growth environment. It quickly grows into snowflake, come down, then the snowflake melts. You end up with that same piece of dust. It's still a solid, it's uncharged, and it just becomes a little piece of dirt. And like I said, the quantities that are being released are 1 million times lower than the background value. So if you go out and, scoop a chunk of dirt out of most Nevada ground, you're gonna find about 1 in 1 million parts of that soil you scooped is silver. If you look at what we put down, it's 1 in a trillion, it's 1 million times less. So it would take 1 million years to see a particle from silver iodide become part of the measurement in the soil. So the amounts are super low, and all of the concerns are based on these concentrations for people that actually handle the material. So people take these sheets that are for guys that work in like factories that are taking big buckets of this stuff and say, yeah, you don't want to breathe this stuff in, or if you get it on your hands might get blue. But the amount that's going up in the cloud seeding is infinitesimally small, and it's what's going up is safe as well. So we feel really confident that this is a safe and effective thing to do. And we're monitoring. We constantly monitor the snowpack. We monitor the soil, and we're keeping an eye on things. So future people that want to look at what we measured are welcome to the numbers. And we're an open book. So if anybody has any concerns, we are willing to discuss with anybody.
After seeing the vial, I didn't have much concern, especially when you realize how far it's being spread and how
I
how
mean,
it's
there's
dissipated.
a
Just
lot of
not an issue.
misinformation.
I did want to get it on the record, though, because people have sent emails to us and,
Okay.
somebody got them all worked up that they're going to get poisoned if they have cloud seeding in Nevada. So
Yeah.
seems like a very, thank you for your explanation. There is no danger whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hansen, for addressing that. Anyone else on the committee have any questions? Okay, great. You all can take a seat. Next, we're going to hear testimony in support of Senate Bill 6. As a reminder, we're limiting the testimony to 2 minutes. And it's encouraged, if you have something similar to say ditto. And if you have additional comments, you may summarize your position and submit a more comprehensive testimony in writing. And we are going to begin here in Carson City. Please state your name and spell it for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Alejandro Rodriguez, Nevada System for Higher Education. NSHE is in strong support of SB 6. We'd like to thank Senator Pezzina, Senator Scheibel, and the Joint Interim Committee for putting this forward as a committee bill. This is an essential program for our state, and it's why it's one of our Board of Regents operating priorities, so we urge your support. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Trevor Parrish, and I'm the Manager of Government Affairs for the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in support of Senate Bill 6, which provides a critical funding allocation to the Desert Research Institute for the Nevada State Cloud Seeding Program. Water stability is essential for Nevada's families and economy. Cloud seeding is an innovative tool that can be used to enhance our water supply by increasing precipitation. Through cloud seeding, we can help boost our water resources and support long-term sustainability. This appropriation comes with well-thought-out accountability and reporting requirements, and the Desert Research Institute is incredibly well-equipped to lead the effort on cloud seeding. Thank you for your time and consideration of Senate Bill 6.
Chair, members of the committee, for the record, my name is Doug Busselman. I'm the Executive Vice President for Nevada Farm Bureau. Our long-term policy on this topic says that Nevada Farm Bureau recognizes the benefits and encourages all local, regional, and state government entities to actively participate in sound scientific modification cloud seeding programs designed to improve annual snowpack and increase water supply. So based on that policy, we are here in support of the bill and encourage your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee members. My name is Guadalupe Guaman Sands, and I'm representing the University of Nevada, Reno. We are in support of SB 6. We want to thank the committee, Senator Pazina, Senator Scheibel, and DRI for investing in research critical to the future of Nevada's people. Thank you.
Okay, it looks like we have no one else here for support in Carson City and no one is in Las Vegas. So we're going to move to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide support for Senate Bill 6?
If you would like to testify in support of SB 6, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, my name is Trinity Muley, and I'd like to say thank you, Madam Chairwoman and distinguished committee members, and everyone who has presented here. I am representing the citizens of Nevada and of my hometown, Las Vegas. I am asking for, I'm calling today to oppose Bill 6. And I would like to take exception to the comment that was made by the Honorable Committeeman Hanson, who addressed those of us who oppose this bill as just kooks that, you know, we just don't do our research and we just send chain emails. As many of the experts that have stood up today in support of SB 6, there are just as many, if not more, with science proving otherwise.
So we are,
additionally,
AVH, this is testimony in support. So I'm just going to remind, we will have the time for testimony in opposition. But I just want to remind the callers that right now we are seeking testimony in support for Senate Bill 6. So AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide support for Senate Bill 6?
If you would like to testify in support of SB 6, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 123, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
I'm actually calling in to oppose.
Okay, we will skip over to you until we get to opposition. Thank you. I have one more caller that looks like they are in support, Chair. Would you like me to put them through?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Hello, for the record, my name is Michelle St. Angelo. I serve as the Executive Director for Save Red Rock, a nonprofit organization whose mission it is to preserve the safety and sustainability of Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area. And I am calling to testify in support of the state's appropriation for funding of Desert Research Institute's successful and safe cloud seeding program. As you know, Red Rock Canyon has been among those who've been suffering from the extreme drought. It's had devastating effects on the plant and animal life here. And as the nation's most visited NCA, it's imperative to the state's economic outlook that this area maintain its beauty, its biodiversity, all driven by the water supply. Since DRI started cloud seeding the Spring Mountain Range in 2022, more than 2 billion gallons of precipitation were added to that NCA, and we really noticed a regeneration in the plant and wildlife in that short
Sorry, I can't read
time. Excuse me?
I still have 48 seconds on the clock, ABH.
Oh, sorry. Not only are these natural sites draws for visitors, which feed our local economy, but actually caring for them honors the commitment of the conservation made when these lands were designated. And then I just want to say one last thing about human life nearby, which has benefited from this program in the stabilization of well levels for Blue Diamond and Calico Basin. They were at their lowest levels in 2021, but even today, after more than 300 days of no rain, the levels are now stable, and I believe that's in part of that extra squeeze, that precipitation that DRI was able to produce during the last several years of seeding. So DRI has proven that this method is effective and perfectly safe, and I urge you to continue to fund this important conservation program. Thank you.
Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And so I just want to remind callers, just like I would as a school principal, we are going to keep our testimony with no name calling or any items like that. And I'm telling you beforehand, so if you do have name calling in your testimony, you have a few minutes to adjust that now. Okay, we are going to start now with our testimony in Senate Bill for opposition for Senate Bill 6. If you're in Carson City and have opposition for Senate Bill 6, please come up, state your name for the record, and spell your name, and I'll start the 2 minutes when you begin. Thank you.
Yolanda Canuck. My last name is Knaak. I am a retired registered nurse. And thank you, Madam Chair and committee members, for this opportunity to speak in opposition of the expanding Nevada's cloud seeding program. Despite serious concerns about its unknown health and environmental risks, our other states like Tennessee, Florida, Kentucky, North Dakota are banning or restricting weather modification. Nevada should do the same until full transparency and safety data are provided. I checked with my allergist, who is with Northern Nevada Allergy, and he did confirm that even though you look it up on Facebook, silver iodide is a heavy metal, and unfortunately you can find both positions online. But silver iodide is a heavy metal, and so I believe that more tests should be done regarding changes in pH and other problems that could occur if we continue with this program. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Bob Russo for the record. At this point, I oppose SB 6. I have some concerns, and one question that comes to my mind is that if we increase precipitation in one area, is a nearby area then going to have a deficiency of precipitation? You know, is the area going to be drier? So that comes to my mind. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. The other thing I'm concerned about is how does silver iodide react with other pollutants in the atmosphere? Is that going to have an effect on human health, for example? Again, we can extend that also to include plants, wildlife, cattle, and so forth. I read an article, this is from August 2022 in the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists that states that silver iodine is known to be toxic and is regulated under the Clean Water Act. And then the article goes on to claim that certain studies have shown the potential harms from bioaccumulation of silver iodine, and that harm, it's especially to aquatic life. So in my opinion, we need more time, we need more research on this. We need to understand how it's going to affect the desert ecosystem. For example, soil conditions, with erosion and so forth. We know that the desert, we don't have much grasslands in the Nevada desert. It's prone to erosion, so we have to also consider that. There's just so many factors involved. And of course, human health is an important one to me. Then we're talking about money, $1.2 million for a state-funded program, in my opinion, is a lot of money. And what's in the works to prevent an extension of that in the future? Anyway, too many unanswered questions, so I'm going to ask you to please oppose it. Thank you very much.
I was just wondering if I could approach you and just show you what it looks like from my backyard.
I apologize, you can't, but you can
I-
submit your photo afterwards
After?
to our committee staff. Thank you.
Okay, that's basically, I had, the blue sky in the morning when I wake up. And every day this goes on.
I apologize, can you state your name and spell it for the
Oh,
record?
sure. Deborah Hawthorne. And did you need me to spell it too?
Yes, please spell your name for the record.
Hawthorne. I moved here 3 years ago, and I've been watching this go on every single day. I don't know, is this the only people spraying, or could there be other people? But this is what it looks like just about every single day in my backyard. And then by the end of the day, there's no more blue sky. The skies are white. And it doesn't block the sun. I don't know, someone told me it's supposed to be blocking the sun, maybe making rain. We haven't had any rain this year, but this spraying's been going on every day, all day long. Doesn't matter if the sky gets white, those planes just keep going back and forth and making A's and X's and all kinds of letters. But I oppose it. I've been sick, like the person who was here, allergies. I all of a sudden have an autoimmune disease. You guys say safe and effective. It's just like the vaccines. And I'd like to just leave you all with a card. Can I leave it here?
You can provide your card to the committee staff, and just so you know, you have 15 seconds left.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll just, over here I leave it? Okay. Thank you for your time.
Right here.
I was just gonna come.
Whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer.
Thank you. Awesome.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Cerrito. I'm an environmental engineering contractor, retired Marine with a background in law. I'm reading from United States Space Force memo, which is Department of the Air Force. In my personal opinion, in my professional opinion, we're being sprayed like bugs. I don't call this cloud seeding, I call them chemtrails. All right, I want to tell you what's in it from the analytical data that's been taken. Titanium dioxide, HEK 293. Nevadans have been poisoned with this titanium dioxide. There's a fine white powder that you'll notice in this last snow event we had left a residue on many of our roads. This isn't, and a lot of the roads still have this white residue. This is from the titanium dioxide. This powder, we've traced this back to the Holocaust war crimes and have learned that this ingredient, this heavy metal, is in vaccines, feminine products, cosmetics, food products, personal hygiene products, and have been tainted with this poison. The side effects through inhalation and excruciating pain, lung cancer, COPD, dementia, and heart attacks. I know 6 children, 3 different families went out and played in this snow in the last snow event, and they were all became sick along with their parents. We don't have the fog that the big cities have from all these chemtrails. Of course, we have this strong winds that doesn't allow for fog, but they have this fog, and it settles in these cities, and these people are getting sick, very sick. Other
Thank
elements
you,
that are in there.
sir. If you want to submit your comments to the committee staff, that would be great. We've reached our 2-minute allotment.
Okay, my time's up.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you for your politeness. Okay, so we are going to move on. It does not look like we have any. Oh, nope, one person, nope, gone. Okay, we are now going to take anyone to wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 6 through the phone lines. AVH, please share anyone that would like to testify in opposition. Thank you.
If you would like to testify in opposition of SB 6, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in opposition, please press *9.
Hi, my name is Captain Kiewitz. That's SIENKIEWICZ for the record. I live in Gardnerville in Douglas County. We, the people here, are so tired of being exposed to the many chemicals that are being carelessly used and released into the environment. Chemicals for which there have been no long-term safety studies and for which the effects upon human, animal, and plant life is generally unknown. There are a lot more chemicals included in the mixture for cloud seeding than just the silver iodide that everyone is talking about. And most of them are definitely not benign. As the previous caller mentioned, a lot of heavy metals that are being poured down upon us as well. We're tired of this being done to us without our consent. A handful of states, including Florida, South Dakota, and Iowa, I think there's 6 altogether, that are moving to ban cloud seeding and all forms of geoengineering as we speak. Yet here we are in Nevada talking about using public funds to pay for these chemicals to be sprayed on us and our kids. The people across this country and the people in Nevada see what you're doing to us. We're so tired of it. Please oppose SB 6. Do not use our taxpayer dollars to fund this program. Thank you so much for your time and your consideration.
Casey Rogers for the record. I would echo everything that the previous caller has claimed. I'm opposed to using taxpayer funding for this, but going further into my research and looking this stuff up, I have found some Substacks where there has been a woman who claims that she has taken rain samples, and in her rain sample, she's found amounts of aluminum, barium, strontium, titanium, magnesium, all of which are heavy metals and are toxic to those of us who would be breathing those in if that is coming from your cloud seeding projects. So as far as I can tell, I think it's a waste of money. I think that's chemicals without our consent, and I'm opposed to taxpayer funding. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Trinity Muhe. I'm a citizen of Las Vegas, MUHE, and I would like to say thank you to everyone who has spoken here, both for and against SB 6. Like I stated earlier, and there is no delineation that in the emails we receive about protocol, just so you know. So I wasn't meaning to speak in opposition out of turn. And so anyway, I like to echo everything that has been said in opposition. I would like to say that this is an experiment, and as much science as can go into support of it, there is as much science more against it. And so therefore, it's not conclusive. These statements that are being made are not fully conclusive. And therefore, this is an experiment. And therefore, down the road, I would like to remind everybody who is unwilling to refrain from using taxpayer dollars to fund this, that there's something called the Nuremberg Code, and I'm sure everybody knows what that is. And I would like to remind the entire committee and everyone who gave testimony of the change in leadership of our nation, and Robert Kennedy is now heading up our Health and Human Services. And I would like to let you know that this tide is turning. Both sides and all of the science is going to come forward. And I would like you to understand that only presenting one scientific side with biased science is not it's not enough for what these chemtrails and this spraying is doing to us. We will have our own evidence. There will be lawsuits. I would just like to remind you all of that.
Perfect timing, 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Yes, hi, this is Al Lasso, Lasso from Las Vegas. Yeah, it's so strange, right? I realize we need water here. Obviously, we live in a desert. But instead of putting like a moratorium on building homes, we decide to seed the clouds with chemicals and to make it rain, and then pour down heavy metals eventually onto the very people who are paying for it through our taxes. And under the Clean Water Act, silver iodide is known to be toxic. The argument, though, is always that it's in such small amounts. It's not going to hurt you because it's so small. But let me ask you this. If I had a jar of 500 marbles and they were all white, and I put one red marble in there, and I told you you'd be blindfolded, you had to reach your hand in that jar. And if you picked the red one, you would get cancer and die. But if you picked the white ones, you'd be fine. How many of you would want to take that chance? And that's basically the same chance you're asking us to take, asking us to believe that silver iodide is safe in small amounts. But we don't know that for sure. And no one wants to take that chance because I know none of you would want to take that chance. So I ask you to think about that when you're putting chemicals in the air. I realize you're not spraying it, but it does go up into the air and it does come back down as the expert testified. There has to be a better way. Has to be. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. My name is Katie Banuelos, that's Banuelos. I'm calling to represent the Libertarian Party of Nevada in opposition to Senate Bill 6. So cloud seeding operations have been taking place in our region for years, but there's been little public awareness or input on this, and the people of Nevada do deserve a voice in these kind of decisions that impact their environment, impact their communities. Most Nevadans are just not meaningfully informed about ongoing cloud seeding efforts. There's been little opportunity for public discussion on this. And since this program receives taxpayer funding, the public's opinion should carry some weight. It's not just about what research institutions and government agencies want to do. There are people who have serious concerns about potential environmental impact, health impacts, and long-term environmental changes can be unpredictable. Substances can accumulate in the air, soil, water over years. There can be cumulative effects over time. The government just should not be using taxpayer dollars to interfere with natural weather patterns when their risks and effectiveness remain uncertain, and when Nevadans have not been given a real choice in whether they wanted this to take place over their communities. Taxpayers just don't want to pay for this, and people have a right to informed consent when it comes to environmental interventions that affect their health, water, property. So for those reasons, I urge you to vote no. Thank you for your time.
Chair, you have no more callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. Now we are going to move to neutral. We are going to start with anyone wishing to testify in neutral here in Carson City. Okay, sorry. And it doesn't look like we have anyone in Las Vegas, so we are going to go to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral for Senate Bill 6?
Chair, your public line is open and working. You have no one wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. So would you like to come up and do a closing statement or final remarks? No? Okay, perfect. I will now close the hearing on Senate Bill 6. Our final business of the evening is public comment. Is there any public comment here in Carson City? Yeah, so you may speak. We closed the hearing on Senate Bill 6, so you may speak on any other topic, yes.
But not chemtrails?
For the hearing on Senate Bill 6, it's closed, but if you'd like to talk on another topic, you may.
No, I just want to talk about tribunals and.
Okay, I'll set the timer for 2 minutes. Thank you. Again, please say your name and spell it for the record.
My name is Bill Cerrito. I'm a licensed environmental engineering contractor. And I just wanted to mention that potentially those responsible for poisoning Nevadans could face a military tribunal. This could be considered a crime against humanity, and those are punishable by military tribunals. And that's located what we ex-Marines call the SPA, which is Guantanamo Bay. We say SPA just because we like to troll people on that. The real beautiful thing about a military tribunal is, unlike the kangaroo courts that you'll see around the country, is that when convicted for something as heinous as this, that you cannot use the term, I didn't know, I'm sorry. You cannot use that as a defense. Kash Patel just dispatched 500 FBI agents from Washington to all the large cities throughout the United States, the large cities like San Francisco, Reno, Las Vegas. And I'm not exactly sure why, but we know that they're going to be making some serious arrests pretty soon, and we hope that we could see it all on TV. So thank you for your time. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and God bless.
I just want to make a quick comment about magnesium, because it did come up. To my knowledge, magnesium is not a toxic metal. It's an essential element that plants need in various amounts. And, I should do soil testing for people. And we always looked at magnesium because it was an important mineral nutrient. And, of course, you want it in proper proportion in the soil. Too much magnesium can tie up calcium, for example. So we're always looking to find a balance. That's what we aim for. But I just wanted to clear the air with magnesium, that it's an important plant nutrient. Thank you.
Okay, is there any public comment? AVH, we're going to go to public comment on the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone waiting to give public comment on the phone?
If you would like to participate in public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers wishing to participate at this time.
Awesome, thank you. And before we go, I did want to acknowledge we do have FFA in the room. If you would like to stand up, and very excited to have you. Thank you for coming. Every cloud has its silver lining, so I appreciate you being here. Seeing no other public comment, that concludes our meeting today. Our next meeting is going to be on Tuesday, March 4th, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.